Hello, music-loving sisters and brothers around the world. I'm actually in my home studio, which I'm kind of setting up to do videos, and I'll throw a few more clocks on the wall or something. I do recording here, but I don't usually do video presentations, but it's a little more comfortable. And yeah, this is an actual little working studio. A lot of what I do is on the laptop in terms of programming and production stuff for commercials and little documentaries, and then I'll come in here and do guitars or sometimes 90 vocal tracks in a couple hours, just to layer stuff out. At any rate, if you haven't guessed by now, my personal favorite band, it won't be the only band that I'll sit and talk about, there'll be others. I've already done Boston and some others, but is Rush. For the last 40 plus years, the first time I heard these guys, really heard them on 2112, it scared me, but it also felt like home. And I'll probably come back to 2112 at some point, since I actually did that in my car. Today though, I've got All the World's a Stage, which for me was the fourth album, I believe, that I bought from Rush, by Rush that is, and recorded over, I think, 5 nights at Massey Hall. Was that in Toronto? I gotta get my glasses out. Hold on. Yeah, Massey Hall, Toronto. June 11, 12, 13, 1976, produced by Rush and Terry Brown. And Terry Brown obviously was there for pretty much the golden age of the band, Not that other producers didn't bring in incredible, pull incredible vibes out of the band. But Terry was, he's kind of the godfather of this whole thing. And I bought this after I had purchased Exit Stage Left, which was my second Rush purchase, and still is my favorite Rush album and my favorite live album by theirs. I know a lot of people feel All the World's a Stage is superior, and I love it. I love it for what it is. And if you came up with Rush from the beginning or near the beginning, then you heard this before you heard Exit, and you probably had a different experience of the band. For me, Exit Stage Left just had an amazing cross-section of everything from 74 to 81. And so to me, it was cinematic. This was raw, amazingly tight, two-fisted live hard rock and metal, which is great too. I had just really kind of warmed my heart on the sound. It's kind of a warmer sound, and just the incredible cross-section of stuff that they'd done, which covered so many styles and textures and whatever else. But I do love this. This was my first experience hearing Bastille Day, Lakeside Park, and stuff off the debut album. I had never heard that. I was still I was out of sequence, buying Rush. Probably until the late 80s, I was kind of playing some catch up. I don't think I bought Hemispheres till 83 or 84 or something. I listened to it at my grandmother's house real quietly. So, but yeah, the other thing about this, I don't know this for a fact, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like the band was not real thrilled with the way this came out production-wise, or maybe in terms of the accommodations they had, or maybe the time they had to record, or technical difficulties. I kind of remember that being the case, which is just so common. I know Van Halen went with that, had that same problem with Live Without a Net and just barely pulled that production off. I remember Neil being interviewed. I think I read the interview in 81, and he just didn't really even want to talk about it. I don't think so much because he hated it, but just because, in part, he didn't really like to go back and revisit the past that much. In some ways he did, but not in those ways. And I got the sense this was not the band's favorite experience recording, even though the final product is a phenomenal snapshot of what they could do live, because these guys, to the end, were one of the tightest live bands I've ever seen over the course of hundreds of shows and thousands of albums that I've had to review. I do also review music for part of my living, so when Rush comes out, it's just, almost without fail, there's going to be something amazing on there and completely unexpected. So for those of you who did kind of grow up in sequence and learn to love Rush, kind of coming from the debut all the way through 2112 and then this, I totally respect the fact that people would think this is Rush's best live album. I came at it in a different sequence and was just kind of more enamored with just that cross section of material on Exit Stage Left, but I still really got a lot out of this. In fact, when I went back and, you know, I don't know when I bought Caress of Steel, it was sometime in the 80s. I had already heard Lakeside Park and Bastille Day on here, and I actually like the live version of Lakeside Park, I think, a little bit better. Especially the interlude, just before Geddy sings about, you know, the breakdown. I can't even remember the lyrics. That's a real great fan, right? The sound of Alex's guitar live is just phenomenal. I mean, and I think if maybe this album had a few more dynamics and maybe a little less upper register grit, you know, I would have loved it more. I do love it a lot, but I'm probably going to side with later live albums as being more to my preference. But anyway, that's it. Yeah, Terry Brown, the godfather of the golden age of Rush, and Hugh Syme, pretty much firmly on board doing the artwork by this point. You know, just really showed what these guys could do live, and thank God, because obviously they would have been a phenomenal powerhouse, game-changing act just from the studio stuff. But when you factored in the fact that they could replicate this live with just ferocity and soul, it was phenomenal. And there are a lot of bands that either cannot perform well live, or I'm going to say later prog bands, it just felt gimmicky. Like, now we're going to play in 17/8. Now we've got this, we've made a 9-minute song. I just never got that from Rush. It was more like, hey man, this is really what's on our hearts and our minds. We're going to knock this shit out of the park because we love it. And you know, maybe other prog bands too. I don't just hate every prog band that followed, but some of them it just felt a little sterile, a little contrived, I guess. So anyway, that's it for me. All the World's a Stage, my 4th Rush album purchase. Phenomenal double album. And by this point, they were starting to really be able to call more of their own shots, because 2112 was such a great hit. And, you know, we kind of made that happen as fans. If you listen to their Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction speech, and, you know, the band will corroborate this, the passion that's in this fan base, unparalleled. There's nothing else like it. So anyway, I hope you and yours are doing well. I'll be back with more Rush and some other stuff, and keep working on the live space, make it a little more, I don't know, visually appealing or something. We'll put a poll here with the dancers. Anyway, take care of yourselves. Have a great weekend.